Hi, I'm here to demolish your arguments.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they...
Wow, such a creative intro. 10 out of 10.
Hey guys, Davison here. I just finished watching a really disappointing and inaccurate video by an anti-feminist woman called Lauren Southern.
And of course it would be disappointing to you, because if it didn't fit your narrative, then, well... the feminist hive mind is very, very strange. Now, before I begin any further, let me just say that I had this video planned out for fucking weeks. Like, as soon as the video came out, the very first thing I wanted to do is make a video response to it. I had to show, how ridiculous her arguments were. Sadly, at the time, my laptop was broken, which really pisses me the fuck off. However, now that I have my laptop back, I can now make my video response as I wanted to. Plain and simple. And hopefully the likes of Teal Deer is going to drop by to this person, drop a few logic bombs, and provide so many goddamn facts that she wouldn't tell the difference between left and right. Now, first of all, yes, I'm in a completely different room. I thought the opportunity would be best fitted if I came here instead. Second thing, if you watch the original video, then the very first thing that you're going to say is she's being completely dishonest. Like, let's just take a look at the video itself. Alright, starting at the 45 mark.
If feminism is a movement for equality, why do we not see equal representation of both genders' issues? And why do we not see feminists complaining about benefits that women have over men in certain situations? I bet very few people watching this video right now know that around 100,000 to 140,000 males are raped annually in US prisons. This is more males raped than females in the US annually, yet feminists remain silent on the issue. Almost half the domestic abuse victims in the US and Canada are men. Yet there are no safe houses for them, no court advocacy programs, no subsidized counseling or legal care like women. Despite being half the victims, they are basically ignored. Men make up 80% of suicide victims, 92% of workplace deaths, 97% of combat deaths, and 77% of homicide victims. Men are objectified, men are raped, men are mistreated. Men are held to ridiculously high societal standards, just like women. Yet feminists continue to place this blanket judgment over all men that they are all privileged.
The entire basis of her argument is this. It's not about just how men are being treated poorly, but the massive hypocrisy within the feminist community on how these feminists fail to realize that there are certain fields that women have the advantage over men. And you still say that women are still being oppressed despite the fact that you have all these extra privileges.
Lauren Southern claims that feminism is not a movement about equality, but instead is about entitlement and supremacy. And her whole video hinges its arguments on the fact that feminism cannot possibly be about equality because most feminists do not focus on issues affecting men.
That and the fact that some of the feminist arguments are just complete bullshit.
The issues she brings up are rape and domestic violence, for example. So what Lauren gets wrong is that just because feminism focuses on women's issues or the feminine doesn't mean that its goal isn't equality. Just like men's rights activists, just because they want to focus on issues affecting men doesn't mean that their ultimate goal isn't equality. And both sides frequently get that wrong. And
okay, two things. One, you're comparing the MRAs with the feminists, okay? They're not exactly the same fucking thing. the MRAs focus on issues that are in fact harmful to men, such as custody battles and male genital mutilation. What are feminists fighting for? Trying to ban the word bossy and fart rape and manspreading. You know, stupid things. And then there's all these other crazy myths that feminists love to bring up, such as the wage gap myth and the 1 in 5 myth, which has been debunked again and again and again and again and again and again and again. You feminists just love bringing those old myths, bringing it back to life like some sort of Frankenstein monster. Just stop! And second, if feminists truly care about equal rights, then we wouldn't have so many goddamn feminists going at the MRA's fucking throats like some sort of bloodhound.
She's just perpetuating that problem. We all want equality. We all want justice. However, it makes sense to label your group with the name of the group that your movement is primarily focused on.
Look, you could try to justify feminism from your fucking holy Bible. Yes, I know, I'm holding the dictionary, but you feminists treat the dictionary as your own fucking holy Bible. Okay? Stop trying to justify feminism because on what it says in the dictionary. Okay? It doesn't change the fact that feminists are just plain fucking hypocritical. And they're lying through their fucking teeth. Again, wage gap, debunked. 1 in 5 myth, debunked. Women being objectified, debunked. I'm gonna leave a few links in the description. A few, that's from Teal Deer. And believe me, if Teal Deer was to make a video response about you, let's just say you're going to see a dislike bar going way, way, way more into the red zone than it is right now.
LGBT groups are labeled as such because they're focused on the needs of gays and lesbians. Therefore, feminism is called feminism because it's focused on women's issues.
Bullshit.
So, in focusing on women's issues, feminists address the inequalities and injustices facing women one by one with the ultimate goal of equality.
Issues like trying to ban the word bossy. I'm not gonna let that go, you know. You feminists come up with such crazy ideologies just to keep feminism alive. For Christ's sake, it has become nothing more than a parasite to society. It needs to die. Kill it with fire.
This does not mean that they hate men. This does not mean that they are trying to undermine men.
I could have sworn there was an article made by a feminist who said, feminists don't hate men, but it wouldn't matter if they did.
Or that they believe that all men in all cases are privileged and that all women in all cases are oppressed.
So what you're saying is the patriarchy doesn't exist.
Binary, extremist, polarized thinking is not part of a well-balanced feminism.
So when do we cross the line between well-balanced feminism and extremist feminism?
I also want to address some of the facts that Lauren presents in her video. She says that 50% of all domestic abuse victims are male. This is an inaccurate statistic.
Really? Really?
I will direct you to a website called Eureka Street that clearly says that of all violence that has been inflicted upon men, for instance, in Australia, less than 5...
Whoa. Let me just stop you right there. First of all, bullshit. Okay? That's all I have to say about that. Second of all, I can link you a couple of articles that says otherwise.
Percent of men experienced violence at the hands of a woman or a former romantic partner that is female in the last 12 months. I don't know where they're getting that statistic from, but it's totally inaccurate.
Oh yeah, of course you don't know where they got the numbers from because you never actually did any research in the first place.
I don't think the 1 in 4 women have experienced domestic violence at some point in their lives is a valid figure, because apart from anything else, it was actually taken from women in refuges. There were no control groups. It isn't a proper analysis.
Yes, it is after all only boys who are receiving a sexist education when they see and hear of domestic violence happening when they are young. Yet it's interesting to note that the CDC has carried out studies and has actually found that women are in fact more likely to be the aggressors in domestic violence cases than men. But just for fun, let's get a second opinion from another expert.
I realised it wasn't a gender issue. And I knew that from personal experience, because although both my parents were violent, dysfunctional, my mother was physically a lot more violent to me than my father. So I came to the whole subject with an open mind. And as I took the women in, I looked at the first 100 women that had came in with their children. And of the first 100, 62 could be described as violent as the partners that they left.
That is not to say that men are not victims of domestic violence or domestic abuse and that it's not terrible when it happens, because it is terrible, but just that it seems like she's overstating the violence that women inflict upon men to undermine women's very valid claims in many circumstances.
Okay, let me just stop you right there. Once again, some of the things that feminists focus on are so goddamn ridiculous, it's not even funny. It's just plain goddamn pathetic. Again, I'm bringing up Ban Bossy as one of those examples. Not to mention that there are myths that have already been debunked that's been made by fucking feminists. People like yourself will never understand.
That they have issues of inequality that need addressing. I'm going to end this video the same way that Lauren ended hers. I am a feminist because I believe in promoting equality and combating sexism and having equal and fair treatment for both genders.
You are a feminist because despite the fact that men tend to be treated very poorly, you still focus on women's rights and focus on things that are so goddamn ridiculous that it's almost laughable.
And if it means that I have to focus on negative issues affecting women, then I will. And gradually, as those go away, then we will reach equality. Just as men's rights activists, if there are terrible issues affecting men, you keep focusing on them. But let's stop blaming one another because it gets us nowhere.
And the majority of feminists still do. I am the Atheist Gamer. Peace the game out.